What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Mr. Joe's Baseball Show. Today, we're going to be talking about the best fielding positions for every character in Mario Superstar Baseball, but before we get into that, I just wanted to say, we're getting real close to 3,000 subscribers. That's absolutely incredible, so I'm going to set a bit of an ambitious goal here. It's been a minute since I've done a Baseball Basics, about a month, I think. So, if we can hit 3,500 subscribers, 3,500 by the end of May, then I will do 5 Baseball Basics in 1 week. That's Monday through Friday, 5 in a row sometime in June, if we can hit that 3,500 subscribers mark. So, be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and without further ado, let's get into the video here. You might just see a black screen. That's because I'm covering up a bit of this list that I have, and I'm just going to explain what exactly I'm going to be doing here. I have taken all of the characters in Mario Superstar Baseball and separated them into different positions, being, pitcher, middle infield, corner bases, right, left, center fields, all 3 of them, and then catcher. And I've placed each character in which position I think they're the best fit for. Now, there are bad characters in this game. They are going to be in some of these tiers, but they are ranked within the tiers. So if the characters are at the bottom, usually it means that either they're A, not that good, or B, just the worst at their respective position. And also, this does not mean that you can't put these characters at any other position, because there are characters that play multiple positions well, and I will point that out when I go through it. So, let's get into it now. I'm going to start off here with our pitchers. So, no surprises here, really. I think the best pitcher in the game is Boo, especially when you're playing this game online. Boo is just such a strong pitcher. And again, we're just looking at defense here. So these are ranked by their defense at their respective positions. Boo, I think, is the best pitcher, followed up very closely by Diddy and Dixie. I believe these 2 characters are fairly interchangeable. I personally think I prefer Dixie Kong, but I do think that Diddy Kong is a little bit better. More people use him, and I think that there's a reason for that. So Boo, Diddy, and Dixie, definitely the top 3 pitchers in this game. And then Peach, she doesn't really have a great position outside of pitcher. She's not a bad pitcher necessarily, but you're going to most likely have a better option in Boo, Diddy, Dixie, and even Waluigi, who we will get to later in this list because he plays a different position better than pitcher. So yeah, these are my top 4 pitchers in the game besides Waluigi. I really think, though, you should really be looking at those top 3 in Boo, Diddy, and Dixie. You can most likely get one. You definitely want one of them at pitcher. So, moving on here, we've got our middle infielders. So again, if you're playing this game at all, you probably know that these are the best middle infielders. Birdo and DK, I believe, they're fairly interchangeable in my mind as the best middle infielder. Donkey Kong has a better arm and he has laser, which allows you to save runs at home, but Birdo's range is really just so ridiculous that I think she might have a slight edge. It's really hard to say. DK also has a bigger body, so he might catch some more balls. So really, I could see the argument for DK over Birdo, but they are the best infielders, no doubt about it. Then you've got Wario and Pianta. These are kind of your next tier down. Wario is an excellent defender, though. He's got really crazy range on his sliding catch. Plus, he has chemistry with Waluigi, who usually will play a corner base, so Wario will be throwing there frequently. So Wario, definitely a strong pick. And then Pianta, while his range is a little lacking compared to the characters ahead of him, he does have the laser beam ability. He has the 2nd strongest arm in the game, so he is still able to make really strong throws from shortstop the first to get out some of the faster runners, so do not sleep on Pianta in the infield. And then Daisy is basically a discount Wario. She has a little less range, and she's skinnier, so she doesn't catch as many balls on jumps and things like that, plus a weaker arm. However, she does have the quick throw ability, which allows her to turn more double plays. If she's playing second, she can cover second base and quickly release the ball to first. She saves about 12 frames over Wario that way, plus a catch on maybe a line drive or something could be thrown back to the bases to double up the runner on their way back more effectively. So Daisy, not a bad shortstop or second baseman by any means, but definitely worse than the 4 that I put above her. And if I had to recommend positions for these characters, I do believe that they could all play either shortstop or second base, with the exception of Daisy being almost exclusively a second baseman. But I would say Birdo I generally see at shortstop as well as DK, and then Wario is generally seen at second base. Pianta kind of goes to either. So really, yeah, that's generally where I would place these characters. You don't really want to play these characters anywhere else unless you have already filled the positions with better characters, in your opinion. Now, moving on, we're going to look at the corner bases. So the corner base characters here, the top 4 is really what we're looking at here, because these are the strongest corner base players in the game. Magikoopa and Waluigi are so ridiculously strong in the corners. Magikoopa having the best height in the game and just with the jump really covering a ton of range vertically, because the jump doesn't go over things really, because Magikarp doesn't jump very high. He just has a very tall hitbox, so when he jumps, he covers an insane amount of vertical reach. Plus, his left to right coverage just standing there is very wide. While he doesn't have a lot of range on dives, that's not nearly as important when you're covering a corner base. You're really looking for the verticality, and that's what Magikoopa really excels at. And Waluigi is in a very similar boat, where he is a big body, he's a tall character, and he's actually, I believe, has a wider hitbox in Magikoopa, which is really, really good. So he doesn't often get glitched on the bases, which is important. Plus, Waluigi has Laser, which gives him a fairly strong arm when he's throwing home with a runner coming from third to home, or just a runner on third in general. He actually gets a stronger arm than the next character, King Boo, who is, again, just a really good character because of his super jump, and his strong arm allows him to make good throws from third to first. He's able to jump for kind of line drives down the line, prevent extra base hits like that. So really good stuff from KB having him on third base. And then Bowser is kind of, he's put into this tier because 1, he has a strong arm, 2, he has Laser, and 3, he has a big body. While his jump is not very good, he just kind of covers a lot of space standing there. And it's kind of your best spot to put Bowser because he's not very fast. So when you're on first or third base, you don't really have to cover a lot of ground. You just kind of have to get in the way of the ball. Plus, Bowser has a lot of chemistry, so you might see Chemlinks going to him often at first base or third base. Next up are Monty and Goomba. These guys fall off hard from where Bowser is. They're not very good characters, but they do have Ball Dash, which allows you to basically eliminate any base running pickles because they can just run down the runner going to second base or first base. I think these characters should exclusively be seen on first base, unless maybe you want to pitch with Goomba or something like that, but these are characters that you're definitely going to want on first, or you can hide them somewhere in your field if you really have just like a better person to play the position. But Ball Dash is really the only reason you're going to want to see these characters, and it's really not something you should be drafting for competitively. Alright, next up, we have our right fielders. Now, like I said before, we are ranking these characters based on how good I think they are at playing this position, not necessarily where they'd be on a tier list. And this is kind of the first big one where you see a big discrepancy between the first and second as far as their fielding ability and their tier list position. Toadette is the best right fielder in the game. There's no question about it. She has the tallest hitbox out of these characters. She has the highest speed out of these characters, and she shares abilities with Mario, with having wall jump and sliding catch. So she covers a ton of range on the ground, plus she is able to do the best at wall jumping stuff since she reaches the wall the fastest, and she has the biggest hitbox out of these characters. There are some rumors with some loose confirmation, I believe, that Luigi does have a slightly taller wall jump, but we often see things go through Luigi, so we're kind of skeptical about it. Maybe it's a hitbox thing, maybe some things are uncatchable, we're not really sure, but what from I personally know is that Toadette covers the most ground in right field, and she is the best right fielder in this game. Next up is Mario, who's not a huge step down. I believe his dive is a little bit better than Toadette's, even though they both have sliding catch. Plus, he has a stronger arm, so those are definitely two good things to consider from Mario. He also bobbles less than Toadette, which is definitely relevant, especially when you're fielding so many balls in a game. And then Luigi, just a half step down from Mario, I think. While he doesn't have sliding catch, he does have super jump, which does let him make some exclusive plays that Mario and Toadette won't get because of his running super jumps. But he does lack dive range where Mario has a much stronger dive range. So that is something to consider with Luigi, but he is a little faster than Mario. So a couple of, pros and cons to having Luigi there. These three characters are all very solid in right field. Bowser Jr. is also a pretty solid right fielder. He's definitely worse than the previous three characters because he is a little slower, and I think he may have a smaller hitbox. I'm not entirely sure on that. Where he does lack in his speed, though, and maybe having a bit of a weak dive, he does have chemistry with a couple of good first basemen in Magikoopa and Bowser, so sometimes you might get that 9-3 put out, which is pretty nice, but Bowser Jr. definitely a step down from the previous three characters in Mario, Luigi, and Toadette. Now, the babies, while you may think they're better than Bowser Jr. because they are faster, they are catastrophically small. These characters are so incredibly small in this game that they will miss things that they just shouldn't be missing. You'll be fully in the circle and a ball will bounce behind them or bounce next to them. It is honestly a detriment in a game where you have to make plays so quickly and you have to be pretty precise. Just having to be that much more on target every single time is not great. Plus, they're able to miss more wall jumps, and they don't even have a sliding catch. Having wall jump is basically essential for right field. As you can see, all of these characters in the right field tier are the characters with wall jump. So Baby Mario and Baby Luigi definitely should be seeing your right field if they're in a game. But unfortunately, they're just not that great because of their small size and weak arms. They have the weakest arms in the game as well. Now, next up, we're going to talk about left field. This is an interesting position because Yoshi reigns supreme on left field. There is no competition that Yoshi is the best left fielder in the game. The gap between him and Green Noki, as you can see there, or just any Noki, technically blue is the fastest, but green is more playable. Yoshi, the gap between those two characters is massive. Now, I put Yoshi in left field because I believe that's the position where he has the most value. However, if he were to be in another tier, he would be first in left field, first in center field, and first in middle infield. So, maybe not first in middle infield, but he would definitely be in that top 2. So he is just such a strong character everywhere you put him. His range is incredible. His speed is unmatched by any character other than Toadette. But with Yoshi's tongue, he is able to catch so many crazy plays. It is absolutely ridiculous. And that is why having him in left field is so important, because a lot of balls are hit to left field, but there's a lot of stuff that Noki will not get that Yoshi will get. And I think the difference that he makes in left field is more significant than the difference he will make at any other position in the field. Like if you were to put him at center field, which he's a lot less play rather, or the middle infield, where you just have characters where the gap is not as big between Yoshi and, Wario that it is between Yoshi and Noki. Now, Yoshi and Noki are really the only two characters that I would say they prefer left field. I have Paratroopa and Paragoomba in this tier as well, and you may be thinking, oh, why wouldn't you want those characters on your corner bases for their super jump? And while I think that's fine, I definitely think these characters play a solid corner base. I believe that they're better than Monty Mole or Goomba. I think that since they have very strong arms and they have pretty decent speed, they can play solid left fields that they can get the ball in quickly, and get it to your laser character in the infield. And I think that's pretty important. While if you have a character with a long windup like Bones or something like that, it's going to be a lot harder to get to that laser connection, and every frame counts in a rundown like that when someone's running home and you're trying to get that out. So you could definitely make an easy argument for Paratroopa or Paragoomba being in the corner bases tier. They definitely play those positions well, but I personally think I like seeing them in left field a little bit more. I don't really like seeing Paragoomba at all, but if I was going to play him, it'd be at left or third base. And finally, center fielders is the next, or actually not finally, because we have a couple more. But center fielders up next. This is kind of a throwaway position. It's like throw in a character that you like their batting, but you don't really like their fielding or anything. And I actually think that Shy Guy is more like here. But yeah, so really center field, it's just put a character that you like their hitting, but you don't want them to make too many fielding mistakes, because there aren't a ton of balls hit the center field. Usually you'll see people pushing or pulling the ball to right or left field. So you can kind of what we call hide a character here. Bro is another character that you kind of see hiding in center field a lot, but I do have him in the last tier for catcher, and we'll get to that in a second. But as far as these characters go, none of them really field particularly well. You could definitely see Shy Guy maybe playing first base, as well as, Bones or Koopa, because you can get chemistry with some other infielders, but I don't really see a point of that. I think they're fine in center field. That's kind of just a place to hide a character like this. And finally, we are going to get into our catchers here. There are only 2 characters in this tier, and really it should just be Petey, but Bro is another character that you kind of want to hide there. Petey Piranha is terrible in the field, in the infield at least, and the outfield, because he is slow, and he has a bad dive and a small hitbox. However, having the strongest arm in the game by a margin, he's the only 100 power arm. The next closest is 80 at Pianta. Petey Piranha makes for the best catcher in the game at preventing steals. He is one of the only characters that can throw out perfect steals without assistance from Boo as the pitcher, since Boo pitches the ball so fast. So Petey Piranha at catcher is basically a must-have. If you pick up Petey, you're going to want to see him at first. You do sometimes see people putting Petey at... you want to put him at catcher, but you do sometimes see people putting Petey Piranha at first base, and that's because Birdo, DK, and King Boo all have chemistry with him. So if you have King Boo left third base, DK shortstop, Birdo second base, then you can have chemistry going to first base from every spot in your infield. However, I say just keep him at catcher and have that same chemistry going home. And that's just as good. Maybe you see a lot less throws that way, but Petey Piranha is such a bad first baseman vertically and kind of horizontally that you really don't want him there. And then again, like I said about Bro before, he is kind of just a throwaway character for this position. He has a solid arm with 6 power, plus he has chemistry with Bowser. And Bowser will be using Laser to throw home to Bro. So the chemistry boosted Laser on top of Bowser's strong arm is an absolute bullet. So that's definitely something to consider. But again, Bro just kind of a hideaway position for him. And I'm actually going to circle back real quick to the corner bases, since I didn't give you the specifics of where I think you should play them preferably at least. I believe that Waluigi should be a first baseman because of his weak arm. Throwing from third to first is kind of hard. And then Magikoopa, I see him at third base a lot, but he can kind of do both. He definitely is solid at both positions. If you have King Boo, you should put him on third base because he has a stronger arm. And I have a similar feeling about Bowser, although I believe that Bowser can do either as well. I think Waluigi is really the only character that you don't want to see on third base out of these top four. And then Monty and Goomba first base, like I said before. So this is my fielding preferred position list. I think that this is fairly representative of what you see in the meta and what you see people generally doing. So drop a comment down below if you disagree with me, if you agree with me, if you have any questions about the list. Let me know, guys. Remember, 3,500 subs by the end of May, and we will get 5 baseball basics in a row. And I'll let you guys pick some of the ones that we do, so be sure to subscribe if you're not already. Drop a comment, drop a like. I appreciate you guys watching so much, and I'll see you guys next time.